Hi students, this is your week 3 video. I want to quickly go over what you need to do this week, and I also want to go over the main components of the summary and response assignment sheet. So for this week, you'll watch the week 3 video, which you're watching now, but it'll be hyperlinked here. You can either listen to or read the transcript of Code Switch's Talk American. And that episode, we're not going to listen to anything else from that podcast, but that episode talks about people's dialects and then the perceptions that others have of them because of those dialects. So I want you, and you'll be asked to in journal entry 3, which is due for sections 66, 67, and 68. It'll be due Friday the 11th, and for my 10469 students, it's due the following Monday. But in that journal entry, and I put this all in the instructions in the journal, you will be asked to think about what this Code Switch episode talked about in relation to your own perceptions of various folks who were interviewed in the dark, sort of how the way they talked made you think of them. Okay, so I want us to start being aware of that. And then we're going to use that through that idea to later transition to how people write and how what our perceptions of people are based on that. Okay, so I hope that you'll get a lot out of that episode. Then we're going to, you need to listen to episodes 5 and 6 of In the Dark, Privilege and Punishment. You'll need to read this handout, Writing Effective Summary and Response Essays, which will kind of just introduce you to that genre of writing. Okay, and then you need to read the assignment sheet, Summary and Response, which I'm going to go over in just a second, and do Journal 3. So, to do that, you need to click on the module, all right, and here is the Summary and Response Essay assignment sheet. So, in this module, you have learned about the effective characteristics of a summary, and you've listened to the first few episodes of the podcast In the Dark, okay? When I say you've learned about the effective characteristics of a summary, I'm talking about this here, right? So I guess it's not something that we've covered extensively, but this paragraph, or excuse me, this handout explains it, right? So for a summary, you're going to condense the main ideas of what you're summarizing, and then your response is your critique and evaluation of, this says of the author's essay, but we're talking about of the podcast, and then it gives you 2 ways to organize that. I prefer method 1, but you may also do method 2 if that works for you, okay? But you just want to be consistent, okay? So the main characteristics of an effective summary, just to return to that idea, is that it's objective, right? The summary portion does not include your opinion, and it just gives the main facts. And you're going to have to be selective because you're covering quite a bit of content. So for this assignment, you'll write a 2 to 3 page summary and response paper. Be sure to consult the materials in Module 1 that will help you write this assignment, so that handout, for example. So the components of this essay begin with an objective summary, in other words, free of your opinion, of the content of the podcast and the episodes we've covered so far, which at that point will be 1 through 6. You don't have to include the ones you're listening to the week this is due unless you just want to. You'll have to be selective and strategic about what to include. What are the most important details? Consider using the titles of the episode to organize your thoughts, though you need not cover each episode in a separate paragraph, and you should not include headings, right? This is a short paper, so I'm not looking for you to do, the gun, the route, etc. as subheadings. Just write these in essay paragraph format, okay? What is the main point of each episode in the larger narrative of the podcast? What does your audience need to know in order to understand your response? So those ideas, those questions there should help you select what you need to include in the summary. Use the rest of your paper for your response. So it should be roughly half and half, right? What do you think about the podcast so far? Have you formed an opinion on Curtis Flowers' guilt or innocence at this point? What role do you think racial politics played in this case? Feel free to take the response portion in directions other than these questions. These are just to get you started. I've included the word exploratory in the assignment name to indicate that you don't need to have a specific argument for this essay. That will come later in later assignments. You should have a central focus in the response portion of your essay, but you don't need to commit to one position on the podcast or the issues raised in it. You are welcome to, that says response, it should say respond. You are welcome to respond to arguments or issues raised in related articles we've read, though if you do, you should be ensured to include these on your works cited page and include in-text citations where appropriate. And that should say where. See, your English professor is tired and has some typos, but I will fix those. If you don't know what this means, works cited or in-text citations, I've provided some resources here, but I'm also happy to discuss that with you. Okay, and I will be adding I'll send out some materials this week on how to specifically cite a podcast, okay? This paper is worth 10% of your final grade, 100 points. Submit your essay no later than Friday, September 18th by 11:59 on Blackboard. I do not accept papers via email attachment. Papers not submitted through Blackboard will not be graded. Okay, you can write it on Blackboard, but I don't recommend doing so because if you lose your internet connection, it's gone. Browse your computer to find your file, okay, and it says what file formats it accepts. Please use one of those because I do use SafeAssign, and you need to click that you agree to submit your paper to the Global Reference Database to check for plagiarism, okay? Gracious, where's the rubric? Here we go. So I recommend using this rubric to guide your paper. I'm going to read you the proficient characteristics, and then you can read the competent and novice characteristics on your own, but use this ahead of time, not just after the fact, to make sure that you've met the requirements of the assignment. So, proficient. The essay contains an effective, objective summary of episodes 1 through 6 of the assigned podcast, Season 2, In the Dark. This summary covers the key content of these episodes and demonstrates that the student has put the information in their own words. Okay, so you get 30 points for that. Thoughtful response. The essay contains the student's response to the podcast so far. The response has a clear focus and demonstrates that the student has thought critically about the issues the podcast raises. 30 points for that. MLA. The essay contains correct and complete in-text citations and a works cited page with all podcast episodes and any supplementary materials mentioned in the essay. Formatting. So 20 points for that. Formatting, 10 points. The essay is written in Times New Roman, size 12 font, double space with 1-inch margins on all sides. And then typos and punctuation. The essay is free from typographical errors and uses standard punctuation, which is also worth 10 points. Okay? So again, that's not due until Friday the 18th, but you do want to start thinking about it, maybe working on it. You can set up a draft review with me. Just shoot me an email. If it's during office hours, I'll meet with you right then. And we'll just, I'll have you send me your paper, or you don't even have to have a draft. We can just talk about it. And, you know, I'll either go line by line through your essay and give you feedback, or we can chat about what you're thinking or any questions that you have even earlier in the process, okay? There's no cutoff time for setting up that draft review or that conversation with me. You know, obviously I'm not going to answer an email and Zoom with you in the middle of the night the day before it's due, but I mean, anytime during working hours before the paper is due, I'm happy to chat with you. So please do avail yourself of that opportunity if you think that's something that will be helpful to you. I love working with students individually. And also don't forget to do your journal this week. You can get to them by going to journals, right? Journal 3 will be up here shortly. But I believe, make it so that they're embedded. Nope, not in this section. I figured out how to embed them like the summary and response exploratory essay. So soon when you click on module, the journals should pop up as well, but you can also just get to them by going to journals. Okay, please let me know if you have questions. I will see most of you on Wednesday. So that's 104, 66, 67, 68, and 104, 69. I will see you on Friday. Have a great week. Stay safe, wear your masks, and I'll see you online.